I am going to tell you the disturbing but true origin of the word geek, what geek actually means, so you can be wise to the words you use every day. The history of this word shocked me when I learned the truth. It's not what you think. Freaky, disturbing, but I think you should know it. Now, I am talking about the original older meaning of what a geek is, not the modern, common, everyday use of that term. Basically, to most people, a geek is a nerd, a dork, a dweeb, or one of the many other similar insulting terms. We tend to use these names interchangeably, but they are distinct. To explain the difference, people have even gone so far as to create Venn diagrams from the simple to the complex. A nerd is someone who is particularly devoted to academic success. They are book smart, but also introverted and socially awkward. Yes, you did, Steve. The word nerd evolved from the word nerd, nert, and ultimately nut. Of the three terms, a dork is the most derogatory. Actually, the word dork evolved from the word for male genitalia. I'll let you guess which one. But a geek is something else. A geek is someone who may be as intelligent as a nerd, but may not be as interested in the academic pursuits. Is not necessarily socially awkward in any way, but is more obsessed or passionate about a specific topic or hobby or activity. A geek might be obsessed with computers or Star Wars or comics or swords or words or some other niche interest. Awesome! It's this passionate, obsessive aspect of a geek which hints at the older, darker meaning. In the 1500s, geek was spelled geck or geek and meant a fool, a dupe, or a simpleton. Definitely wasn't a compliment, but not particularly dark either, at least yet. It wasn't until, say, the mid-1800s that the word geek took a disturbing turn. You see, the century between the years about 1840 to 1950 was the peak days of the traveling circus, of the traveling carnival. And the geek was a performer in one of these carnivals. He or she had an extraordinary act. Circuses of those days were wild. I remember when I was young, my late father would love to tell me the story of when he was young, a mere 13 years old, when he ran away from home and joined a traveling circus, as bizarre as that sounds. Earlier in that year, he had somehow met the great Gene Autry, the actor, the singer, known as the Singing Cowboy, and Gene Autry had offered him a job to take care of his horses on the road. So naturally, when he asked my grandmother said absolutely no way, and so my father ran away and joined the circus for the summer. It just shows you how crazy the circuses were in those days. He was given the job of handling the snakes in the snake pit. And as he was handling the snakes, he would yell to the passersby,
"Hurry, hurry, step right up."
I can't do his annoying carny voice. He said those were dangerous days. His life was in threat many times. You see, the circus and the carnival attracted so many lowlifes and dangerous and questionable people. The strong man was a bully. He would go around beating people up. And you had to make friends with the fat woman, which he did, and she was strong enough to protect the vulnerable and bully back the bully. Wild, wild days. Now, some of the most dangerous people of those times were the geeks. Now, in those days, most traveling circuses and traveling carnivals had a sideshow that was called the freak show. It was even part of the P.T. Barnum's Greatest Show on Earth, also called Barnum and Bailey or the Ringling Brothers. Basically, a freak show was an exhibition show with a variety of people with bodily deformities or physical rarities, what people of that time so callously or cruelly called freaks of nature. People like Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, Jalitzi, the Pinhead, Francesco Lentini, the Three-Legged Man, Myrtle Corbin, the Four-Legged Girl from Texas, Prince Randian, the Snake Man, or also called the Human Caterpillar. You had a few men with the condition known as dwarfism, Charles Stratton, who was called General Tom Thumb, as well as George Washington Nutt, known as Commodore Nutt. There was Annie Jones, the world-famous bearded lady. You have Fedor Jephtichu, better known as Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy, Isaac Sprague, the Living Skeleton, Fannie Mills, Ohio Bigfoot Girl, who suffered from Milroy's disease. And finally, at least for this list, you have Chang Bunker and his brother Ang Bunker, conjoined twins. Incidentally, they happen to be from Siam and were known as the Siamese twins, which is actually the origin of that term for every other conjoined twin after them. In 1932, there was a movie called Freak Show, which actually starred the real-life performers in the Freak Show of P.T. Barnum. You heard of the saying, beware of geeks bearing gifts. But amongst all these Freak Show performers, there was one performer that fascinated and disgusted the audience most of all. These were the geeks. Often considered the lowest of the low and the most wild. These geeks were often alcoholics and drug addicts, and they were actually paid with booze or narcotics to keep them going. They were often used as opening acts in order to shock the
Straight out of
crowd.
the jungle, fresh off the farm, meet the Geek.
But what would these geeks actually do? What was their act? These wild men or women would be given a chicken or be made to chase a chicken in the ring, and after they caught it, they would bite the head off the chicken. They would rip it off with their bare teeth and eat it, blood everywhere. They would often be made to do the same with a snake or a rat or other small animals. It was brutal. The crowd would be horrified. But like a car crash, they couldn't turn away. It was entertainment. Bloody entertainment. Some would say animal abuse.
This man also a body manipulator?
No, in the classical sense, the conundrum's a geek.
He eats live animals.
He eats anything. Live animals, dead animals, rocks, light bulbs, corkscrews, battery cables, cranberries.
Human flesh?
Only the conundrum can answer that question.
I don't know what the Geek Squad does at Best Buy, but they better not have any chickens back there. That's all I'm saying. So that's the disturbing origin of the word geek. For better or for worse, now you're wise to the words. There's definitely more to come, more words with dark and interesting origins.